Alrighty guys, so this knife was purchased on Amazon. However, again, if you do have a local knife store, you'll want to support them. Always, always, always. Because in my area, there are no more knife stores. And I think a lot of that has to do with the internet and everyone going online to buy them instead of buying them in the store. And as a result, there really isn't anywhere that I can go see knives in person. Even the big name stores don't usually carry a whole lot of Benchmades. So something like this would have to be special to order in, and that would sort of defeat the purpose of being able to check out knives individually, especially the case with Benchmades given their quality control. So with that being said though, let's get into this. Using here the North Fork to go ahead and open this thing up. And as you know, the new Mini Crooked River is part of the Hunt series from Benchmade. Let me just remove the shipping here. Shipping information. Okay, so there it is. There is the box. Remove that packaging. Very well packaged, you know, not a whole lot of room for the knife to move around in. A very tight fit, but that's a good thing. There we go. And just standard Benchmade packaging. Okay, and we'll go ahead and open it up. I am so excited for this knife. When I first saw the Crooked River in store, I actually did go to a Gander Mountain that was going out of business. Gander Mountain went out of business, and so they had a lot of clearance sales. And I was so tempted to buy the Crooked River. I got to hold it in my hand. It's a beautiful knife, but the problem is it's just too big for me. I really can't EDC a knife with a 4-inch blade every day. Just not possible. It's too big. But, oh my God. Just look at that, guys. Truly a beautiful knife. Now, it's got the same diamond wood handle scales as the North Fork, except in this case, this particular knife has lighter colored handle scales. Now, I will say that Benchmade makes it very clear that every knife that comes with diamond wood is going to look a little bit different and pretty much unique, because the lamination process means that every piece of diamond wood is going to look different, because again, it's laminated layers in a resin. And that's something that when I first purchased my North Fork, I was upset that I got a specimen that was darker in terms of handle scales than what I had seen in pictures. I am so happy to see a lighter colored diamond wood on my particular knife. I really, really do like that, because I think a lighter wood really does make it pop as you know, visually speaking, as wood. Another thing with the Mini Crooked River, of course, is your very distinct G10 orange backspacer here, and also your orange colored anodized ring on your pivot. Now again, these were things when I first saw the full-size Crooked River, I wasn't a huge fan of. Now, the pivot being orange, having an orange ring around there, I don't have a huge problem with that. You know, and if anything, you know, it definitely quickly grew on me to give a pop to the whole area up here, because again, you've got a split in materials on your handle here. So having this additional color here really does help everything pop. But my biggest gripe initially with the full-size Crooked River, aside from the size, is what was the orange G10 backspacer. Now, I understand you can dye it, and that was my plan initially, but honestly, it's grown on me a lot. Now, I understand some people's concerns that, you know, one, it's kind of jarring, it doesn't look like it belongs, and number two is that because you've got a high carry pocket clip and this orange, it's going to make the knife that much more visible when it's sticking outside of your pocket. And that's a valid concern. And if that's a serious issue for you, you can get a deep carry pocket clip. You can dye the G10. Again, not a problem. But this has definitely grown on me a lot. Now, here's the thing. It is still a Benchmade. And Benchmade has been having problems in the last few years with quality control. I should know. I've bought a lot of several Benchmade knives, and I've experienced these things firsthand. So, for 2018, this being a new 2018 release, let's see if Benchmade's got things right. So, first thing we're going to check is blade centering. Now, I'm looking at this thing dead on, And honestly, that blade seems pretty much dead center. I'm going to try to show the camera. Probably won't work very well, but just take my word for it. Blade centering is perfect. We'll next check axis lock tension. That's never usually an issue, but more what I'm checking for in addition is grittiness in the axis lock action. And nope, no grittiness there. Even when I pull on one side, one side of the axis lock slides just fine. A lot of times if there are burrs left in there, they didn't really finish the edges as well, it'll work fine when you pull both sides of the axis lock, but when you pull down on one side, it'll kind of catch because, again, there'll be little bits and burrs that weren't really cleaned up. But that seems to be good as well. Next thing we're going to check is action. Let me go ahead and flick it open. Wow, guys. That's impressive. That is, and let's see if it falls shut. Oh my God. Guys, are you seeing this? Flicks open. Falls shut. Out of the box. That is absolutely impressive. I don't think I've had a single Benchmade up until this point do that. And I have several. We've got the North Fork. We've got the 940. We've got the Triage here. None of these knives out of the box would fall shut and flick open like that out of the box. All of them required adjustment. So this is very, very impressive. Now I will say I'm detecting a little bit of lock stick. So basically I'll get it open. It'll work great. But the lock bar, it's kind of stuck and requires just a little extra tug to get it to move down. Hopefully that does wear in with time. My 940 was the same way, but after playing with it for about a week, the lock stick issue disappeared and doesn't really pose an issue anymore. And again, if that was a serious issue, I guess I could send it back to Benchmade, but I'm hoping that it resolves itself. Again, is it ideal to have a brand new knife have lock stick issues? Really, no, not at all. Not acceptable at all. But let's be honest here, guys. This is a Benchmade, so you've got to pick your battles. And as far as that goes for me, a little bit of lock stick for me isn't a major issue because I'm fairly certain it's going to disappear. So action's amazing out of the box. Centering is good. Let's check finishing. So if I run my finger along the back side here where the backspacer is, where the wood handle scales meet the liners here and the upper portion, there really aren't any burrs with the exception of right here. Now I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to try and get the camera to focus. There you go. That edge right here is just a little bit rough. And it's because the wood sticks out just a little bit more than your aluminum up here. Now again, this could be fixed with sandpaper, but it feels like something that should be done at the factory. Now that being said, that's not a huge deal considering there are hardly any raised edges or poor seams anywhere else on this knife. I'm running my hand and my fingers all over this knife, and unlike on my North Fork, which has imbalances all over in terms of the edges, I could only find one place on this knife really. Okay, two places. I'll say two places, right here and right here, where the seams have an issue with the lip. But every other seam, wholeheartedly and honestly I can say, do not have those imperfections. Even on the other side right here. And if we open it up, again, I can feel right in here and here. I mean, this is honestly amazing. Coming from Benchmade, again, I've come to, unfortunately, expect imperfections like that. And I think that, that's to me unacceptable at the price point that Benchmade often prices its knives. So finally, I feel like Benchmade has been listening to its customers and saying, okay, we hear you. We have to step up our quality control. It's unacceptable to send out knives that are basically, need to be retouched up. And in that sense, I am very happy. So another thing, so we'll now go over the look of the knife here. So again, you've got a much cleaner design than some other knives because if you look here, first of all, your pivot, your screw is actually on the other side. Okay, so on the presentation side, the pivot is just a smooth stud, backing for the stud. Again, also your handle scale screws here are pass-through screws that go all the way through from the other side. So again, all you've got on this side is a stud backing. So again, also clean. The only screw you've got here is right up here. But everything else is completely smooth. And that gives you a really, really clean look to the knife. Again, it really does give you a clean look. In addition, you know, you've got your parkerized clip, which I know it's very controversial, all right? But I'm of the opinion that it's not bad at all. I think it looks pretty good, and it's never been a problem for me, and I definitely like that it is parkerized. If we look at our lanyard hole in the bottom here, again, doesn't seem to be too much of a hindrance to the design and overall aesthetic. I definitely like it. It doesn't strike me as something that they just added on after the fact. And also, it's very clean. There are no burrs. And if you look inside, there are no burrs there either. The machining is even. Sometimes I'll find that the machining for the handle scales is slightly larger or smaller than the machining for the liners and the G10 or whatever backspacers in there. And as a result, it changes the size of the hole, because even if you try to pass something through, it's going to catch on one of the inner layers that's sticking out. So again, overall, I'm very impressed with this knife. Obviously, this is just not a full review. I just got this knife, but overall, I'm very impressed with it. The last thing we're going to check, of course, is factory sharpness. Now, this blade is S30V. Benchmade's been using S30V for a lot of things these days. It is not my favorite steel in the world, and my major issue with it is just how much of a pain in the ass it is to sharpen. You know, of all the steels out there, even some steels with significantly better edge retention, it just proves to be a bear to sharpen. It's just a pain in the ass. It just fights you, and it takes forever. And you can get a very good edge on here for sure, but it fights me a lot more than even other steels. And I would have loved to see S35VN on here, because I think that takes all the issues, the good qualities of S30V, and gets rid of all the issues. And I think that would have been a much better steel in here. But S30V is not bad either. The only thing that I think also is, you know, needs to be something that people take into account, though, is that S30V have a tendency to be prone to chipping. So that is something to keep in mind. But here we've got just printer paper, and we're going to test it. This is the factory edge. I have not done anything to it. Okay, well that's my fault. I didn't pass it through there, but push cuts beautifully. Again, not the sharpest thing in the world, but it is push cutting at every part of the blade, right up until the tip. I don't know if you can see that. I'm push cutting, not slide cutting. If I slide cut, it's even better. To give you a comparison, we'll just show you the triage. Now, this is a knife that I have sharpened on the KME, and this is as razor sharp as they get. So this is even sharper, but this was done by me, and I reprofiled the edge myself to a much better geometry, and I sharpened it myself. This is from the factory. Again, very good. Every single one of my Benchmade knives in the past have come with poor factory sharpening. You know, it wasn't awful. It was usable, but certainly for a knife snob like me, or even just, I don't know if I'm even a snob, but I just have higher standards, and I'm behind a Benchmade, I would expect it to come with a very, very good factory edge. It should be able to push cut paper, no problem. But none of my knives from the factory, with maybe the exception of the triage, came with an edge that was even capable of doing that. So I'm very pleased. I'm not ready to say wholeheartedly 100% that Benchmade's back, but I do think that quality has improved based on this. Now, obviously, being that this is only one knife, one model, and one example, I can't say that every knife that you get from Benchmade in 2018 is going to be of this quality, okay? Which is why I still stress that it's important to, and I think a lot of people stress this, that it's important to go to a store and find a knife if you're going to buy a Benchmade, because that way you can check and find a good one out of all the bad ones. I do think that it is a much better time to be buying a Benchmade than it's ever been in the last few years. So anyway, guys, I hope you have enjoyed taking a look at the new Mini Crooked River as much as I have. I will be giving you a full review of this thing in about a week to a week and a half. I'm going to have a chance to carry this every day, take it apart, clean it, see how easy it is to work with, and see how much I like it as my EDC. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. If you want to see more, get subscribed. If you have any questions, leave them below. And if you like this video, give me a like.